So I've been using the iPhone X for almost a week now, and the rosy OLED goggles have kind of fallen off, and I've kind of realized that the 5.8-inch screen on the iPhone X kind of isn't 5.8 inches. In fact, mobile gaming on this device is going to be closer to an iPhone 8, which is crazy. If you're stuck between a moderately casual and hardcore mobile gamer, I would seriously advise you to stick to the plus-sized iPhones, even though the screen isn't as nice. Now, before I continue, I want to know what you guys think. Would you rather game on a smaller, higher resolution, better looking screen, or on a bigger, decent looking screen? Let me know by giving the video a thumbs up for the smaller, higher resolution screen and a thumbs down for the bigger screen, bigger, decent looking screen. So in the next few minutes, I'm gonna go over the details of how the screen size changes between, normal apps like Facebook and Instagram. I'll talk about how the app changes for Netflix as well as gaming. And yes, this is basically a detailed version of reason number 2 of why not to get the iPhone X that I released a couple of days ago. So if that's interesting to you, check that out.
Real usage, real reviews. MobileReviewsA.ca.
At MobileReviewsA.ca, Monty and I like to do things based on actual usage. So these videos take a long time to make. And for this video, I got to spend a lot of time measuring my iPhone with a ruler. So technically, the iPhone X has the largest screen ever on an Apple iPhone at 5.8 inches. Now on the iPhone 8 Plus, it's only 5.5 inches. So it's 0.3 inches bigger. Now, if you take a ruler to the 8 Plus, you'll see that the screen is 5.5 inches. If we take the ruler to the iPhone X, you'll see that it kind of doesn't come close to the 5.8 inches. Now, it's a lot easier to see 5.8 inches on a physical ruler as 14.7 centimeters. So if I go from corner to corner on the iPhone X, I'm a bit shy of 14.7 centimeters. Now, the dimension of 5.8 inches on the iPhone X only works if you extrapolate the round corners into square corners. Now, I'm not sure if the OLED screen is actually square or not. I don't think it really matters. Maybe Apple just decided to cover it up with rounded corners, I don't know. But the screenshots taken on the iPhone X do have square corners. Now, I'm not really complaining about anything because developers aren't filling parts of their apps with the bottom corners of the screen's device, but it's just one of those things that I came across it in this video while making this video, so I thought, I'd share it. Somebody might find it interesting. Now, for non-gaming applications like Facebook and Instagram, they use about 90% of the screen, which, seems like much, but on the 8 Plus, it uses about 96% of the screen. The difference in terms of the screen is that on the iPhone X, the top and bottom of the screen isn't actually used for the app. There's a bunch of dead space in it, and a place for a bunch of really fancy Face ID technology. Personally, this doesn't really bother me, as I really enjoyed the edge-to-edge look of the iPhone, other than the dead space at the bottom of the apps. But this doesn't really happen in Safari, as text kind of goes straight to the bottom, which is nice. So for regular apps, despite having a bigger screen, you actually will see more or get more out of the screen of the iPhone 8 Plus, which seems kind of silly. Now, if we compare the 8 Plus and the iPhone X side by side with the Facebook app, you'll see that the iPhone X is taller and the iPhone 8 Plus is wider. Now, when it comes to these apps, I don't think that's going to matter a lot. It just means that the pictures on your iPhone 8 Plus are going to look a little bigger. But if you do a lot of reading through Safari, through news websites or something, you're definitely going to get a lot more reading material on the iPhone X as the text goes all the way down to the bottom of the screen, which is nice. For Netflix, the iPhone X uses about 80% of the actual OLED screen, though some of the captions and video titles go past the actual video portion. Now, Netflix on the iPhone 8 Plus uses the whole screen. Again, despite having the bigger OLED screen, Netflix is larger on the 8 Plus. Now, it might not make a big difference. If I was to play Netflix on both these devices, you would definitely notice that the OLED screen is much brighter, but none of these devices, the 8 Plus or the X, are 4K compliant. Even the X doesn't have a 4K resolution. Both of these devices can play HDR content, which is nice. Again, it goes back to that question that I asked at the very beginning. Do you want to go with something bigger with a slightly poorer quality, or something smaller with slightly better quality? Now, on to games. On the iPhone X, the games that I play only fill about 72% of the screen on the iPhone X, which is kind of crazy. For this part of the video, I am going to talk about how the iPhone X scales down games, and then kind of talk about my assumptions about why this happens. Now, based on my calculations, the game resolution is close to 1880 by 1055. The default resolution of the iPhone X is 2436 by 1125. For games, you basically lose 5/8 of an inch on both sides to dead space and about 1/4 inch on the bottom to dead space. Now, the 1/4 inch at the bottom of the screen is needed for you to access the home swipe gesture, since there isn't a home button anymore. So the game on the iPhone X basically has the same physical size as the game on the iPhone iPhone 8. If you measure corner to corner, it's actually smaller because the corners of the games around it, for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure why that is, because it's not constrained by the edge of the device. But if I was to extract the corners like I did earlier, it is kind of exactly the same size as the iPhone 8. Now, though physically they look the same, digitally they are different. The iPhone X's resolution is much higher. On the iPhone 8, you're getting a little over 1 million pixels with the 1334 by 750 LCD, whereas in the iPhone X's resolution is getting you close to 2 million pixels. So theoretically, the iPhone X's display of the game is going to be better. And you might be able to see the difference if I set the two side by side. But here's the thing when it comes to screen quality for the average consumer. It's not really going to matter when you're staring at a single device all the time. I kind of relate it to going to a big box store and you're looking at all the TVs on the TV mount, on the TV wall. And yes, there's definitely ones that are different, ones that are brighter, cooler, contrast isn't as great. So when you buy a TV and you're looking at all those differences, you're like, yeah, I totally bought the one that's best for me. Because for all these reasons. But you go home, you mount it on your wall and you turn it on, there's a good chance you're not going to notice that your TV is cooler or warmer, or the contrast ratio is slightly lower than the one that's $400 more. Again, would you rather game on a smaller, higher resolution, better looking screen, or a bigger, decent looking screen? Now personally, I stick with the iPhone 8 Plus. Sure, the screen doesn't look as nice, but the screen is bigger. And maybe because my eyesight's going, because I'm getting a little older, but it just makes a lot more sense that the entire screen on this device is used for gaming instead of 72% on the iPhone X. Again, this is a personal preference. I'm pretty sure Monty likes the iPhone X because he likes fancy things like that. Like, look at his leopard print bow tie. Like, he's fancy like that. Last thing I will note is that certain games, like, flinging birds at pigs, that home swipe gesture area is going to get in the way every once in a while, which is, well, something worth noting, I'll say. So why does this happen? Why does this scaling happen? Why doesn't Apple use more of the screen? I think it's just the easiest solution to the problem right now. I think the iPhone 10 or X, depending on how you're reading it, on my script, I've written 10 this time, so I'm saying it properly according to some people, but you go to the website, it's iPhone. I'm pretty sure that letter is X. I know it's a Roman numeral. So why does this cropping happen? Well, for the last few years, games have been developed to fit either 1920 by 1080 of the plus-sized iPhones or 1334 by 750 of the smaller regular-sized iPhones, not the larger 2436 by 1125 of the iPhone 10. Now, to simplify this for myself, the ratio between the height and width for the screens for the 8 is 1.78, whereas it is 2.16 for the iPhone X. In fact, the iPhone X is really close to being at a 16:9 screen ratio, which is kind of neat. Now, if developers were to scale the games to the new resolution, the screen of the iPhone 10 would be 2436 by 1370 in portrait mode, or in gaming mode, I'll say. That means that the iPhone 10 would have to be 20% taller. So it's just easier for now that games are scaled to fit within the iPhone X screen, 10 screen. But this isn't the case for all games. I think it's just an update that developers have to do. I'm not quite sure why large gaming companies like Rovio haven't updated their apps to work with the iPhone 10, because games like Iron Marines utilize the whole screen. And this game looks pretty awesome on the iPhone X, but the only problem, in my opinion, is that it's, well, kind of boring. Seriously, for developers, iOS 11 has been accessible to them since June 2017. Maybe they're lazy? Why spend money on making your product look awesome when people are still spending way too much money buying imaginary things? Like gems. If you found this video helpful or useful, or you know somebody who's thinking about getting an iPhone X and is a gamer, considering sharing this video with them. If you found it useful, give it a thumbs up. It's taken me a lot of time to measure the screens and to do everything so very, very quickly. I've been trying to produce one video a day since the iPhone X released for a week, and I'm falling behind. So questions, comments, leave them down there below. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching.